In this video, I will explain the Explanatory Writing Performance Task practice for the CASP test. I will go through each page and explain how the documents are set up. So the first page here just shows you the type of writing and the topic and the California Common Core standards. So this is explanatory writing. And the standard says students should be able to write informative/explanatory text to examine and convey complex ideas, concepts, and information clearly and accurately through the effective selection, organization, and analysis of content. This performance task happens to be about the topic of vaccines. Okay, so that's just the cover page. Next, we have the background information as well as your assignment. It helps to know this ahead of time so that as you're reading through all of the sources, then you know in the back of your mind what you're going to be writing about. So let's take a look at the background first. It says, before a child is even born, parents must make decisions about how best to care for and protect their child. After a child is born, one very important decision that parents must make is whether or not to immunize their child from potentially devastating diseases through vaccinations. Currently, California law requires all children enrolled in state schools, both public and private, to have certain doctor-recommended immunizations or receive them when they enroll. So, what exactly are vaccines and how do they work? Directions. You will now review your notes and sources, plan, draft, edit, and revise your writing. Now read your assignment and the information about how your writing will be scored, then begin your work. So here's your assignment. Your science teacher has introduced a new unit about immunizations and vaccinations so that your class can track the progress of the current work being done to find a vaccine for the 2019 novel coronavirus, also known as COVID-19. You have seen posters in your pediatrician's office about vaccinations, but you never really took the time to learn about their history and how they work until now. Your teacher has challenged everyone to research the history of vaccines and how they have impacted the world's population over time. When your research is complete, your teacher asks you to write an explanatory article that can be published on the school's website, informing parents and students about vaccinations. Using a minimum of 2 sources, craft a thesis to explain the important facts regarding vaccinations. Once you have a thesis, select the most relevant information to support your thesis. Then write a multi-paragraph explanatory article explaining your thesis. Clearly organize your article and elaborate on your ideas. Paraphrase or summarize the source information, except when quoting directly from the sources. Be sure to reference the sources by title, author, or number when using details or facts directly from the sources. Okay, so now that you know the topic and what you'll be writing about, next here we have a main idea chart. And as you can see from the main idea chart, there are 4 sources for this synthesis essay. And completing the main idea chart will help you know the main idea of each article or source so that after you have read a couple, you don't get them confused. Next, we have an evidence chart. The evidence chart is organized by who, what, where, when, why, and how. So what this will do is as you read information about vaccines, you can take notes on the evidence from all the sources organized by these questions. Okay, next we have just a list of the sources and their titles. Okay, again, you can see that there's 4 sources, and sources 3 and 4 are YouTube videos. Okay, now moving on, we have source 1. And the title is 6 Things You Need to Know About Vaccines, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And this is where you can find it online. Okay. So source 1 is an article that is about 3 pages. Then after each source, you have some questions to help with your comprehension of the text. Okay. Now, normally, if we were all in class together, after we read a source together, we would answer the questions on the piece of paper. But since we're not, what I've done instead is I've basically converted these questions into an assessment. Okay. So after you read each source, you'll go through and see if you can answer the questions. You don't necessarily have to physically type the answers and turn that in, but the assessment or the test after each source is based on these questions. Okay, so again, the questions are just to kind of check, make sure you understood the text, and then you'll be tested on that in the assessment in Schoology. Okay, source 2 is titled Immunization Coverage, World Health Organization. And here's where you can find it online. And then here you can see it starts off by some key facts. So source 2 is the longest source. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. And it's mainly organized by different diseases. Okay. And then again, here are some questions to help with your comprehension of the text. You don't necessarily have to answer those and turn those in. Those questions, though, are now turned into an assessment in Schoology. Okay. Sources 3 and 4 are YouTube videos. They're very similar. They're made by the same company, Eureka Science. Source 3 is titled Vaccines 101, Origin of Vaccines, and that is 3 minutes and 39 seconds. Okay, and what I've given you is like a note sheet. Okay, again, you don't necessarily have to take these notes and turn them in for a grade, but the assessment that you'll take after watching this source is based on these notes. Okay, and then source 4, also by Eureka Science, is called Vaccines 101, How Vaccines Work. And that is 3 minutes and 57 seconds. Again, I've given you some note pages here. You don't have to do those and turn those in for credit, but the assessment is based on these notes. Okay, and then finally, at the end of this packet here, after all the sources, we have what CASP describes as a short response. And here's the prompt. All the sources discuss the benefits that vaccinations have for both the person receiving the vaccination and others around him or her. Provide 2 examples from different sources that support this idea and explain how each example supports this observation. Cite evidence and identify the source of each piece of information by title or number. Okay, so again, this is not the full 5-paragraph essay. It's considered a short response. And then here is the prompt for the full 5-paragraph essay. It's the same one that was at the very beginning of the packet that I've read already. Okay, but now it just tells you here how your essay is going to be scored. Organization and purpose, elaboration and evidence, and conventions. Okay, and so those are all the pages of the packet. First, we have the background and then the topic. Then you have all the sources with questions. And then finally, you have the short response and then the 5-paragraph essay prompt again. Okay, so now you know the topic and how this packet will be organized. The first week that we'll be working with this, you'll be reading or listening to all the sources and taking the assessments. And then the second week, we'll be working on the short response here and then the full 5-paragraph essay. Okay, so again, week 1 is reading the sources. Week 2 is doing the writing. All right, I hope this helped. Bye.